Legislative Day number 5 will now come to order. Please rise for a moment of silent meditation. I will now call upon Councilman David Marks, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. The flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I apologize for our lateness. We were in a meeting with the presidents of the rec councils. Is there a motion to approve the journal for the meeting of February the 18th, 2020?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
The journal is approved. We'll now do the enrollment of bills. Bills 2-20 and 3-20 were passed by the council, signed by the executive, and are hereby enrolled. Mr. Secretary, will you now read all bills for introduction?
Yes, Madam Chair. Bill 10-20, Current Expense Budget Victim Specialist Program. Bill 11-20, sponsored by Councilwoman Chairwoman Bevins, Swimming Pools. Bill 12-20, sponsored by Councilman Quirk, Zoning Regulations, Uses Permitted in Residential Office and Office Zones.
Thank you. The council will now consider all bills for final reading and vote. Mr. Secretary, the first bill, please.
Bill 4-20 is sponsored by all members of the County Council, Voluntary Private Security or Surveillance Camera Registration Program.
Who wants to lead on this? Councilman Jones?
Yes, this bill basically is designed to help the police in terms of conducting investigations and at the same time protecting the privacy of the citizens. The whole idea is when the crime occurs, oftentimes the police want to look for a surveillance camera up and down the street. And what this bill would do is ask citizens on a voluntary basis to register their cameras with the police so that in the event of a crime, the police will be able to check a registry without physically going up and down the street looking for the cameras. They would know where they are. Then they can contact the citizens much quicker. Because sometimes crimes occurs at night and they have to wait for the day to canvass the area because they can't see the cameras on people's homes. And I really appreciate all the work that all my council members did in terms of helping us get to this point. Also appreciate the administration pointing out some issues that shed some light on some things that we didn't think about. And it's good that we made those amendments, and now we'll be able to move forward.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. Mr. Secretary, there are 2 sets of amendments.
Yes, Madam Chair. The first set is amendments that are sponsored by Councilman Jones. These amendments, some of which were based on discussions back and forth with the administration. The substance of the amendments are to reduce one of the incentives from 2 additional false alarm waivers for a false alarm fee waiver down to 1. The first 2 are all in the law are already waived, and this would allow just 1 more waiver instead of 2, which is in the bill as drafted. The next amendment would indicate that the administration, and in particular the Director of Budget and Finance, in consultation with Information Technology and the Chief of Police, may adopt regulations in order to carry out the purposes of this subtitle. And further, it would give the administration up to 6 months to begin registering cameras from the effective date of this bill, which will be March 16th.
Is there a motion to approve the amendments to Bill 4-20?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendments to Bill 4-20. That was both sets, correct?
That was just the first
The
set.
first set, okay.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
The first set of amendments to Bill 4-20 has passed. Second set?
The second set is sponsored by the administration at the request of the county executive. These are mostly technical amendments, Madam Chair. The bill requests, or the bill encourages private property owners who have commercial or residential property that use private security cameras to monitor their property and who utilize at least one such camera pointed toward a public right-of-way to register the location of that camera with the county. One of the amendments says not to limit it to that camera, but to all the cameras that they may be utilizing. So that was more or less a technical change to do that. The other amendments really are technical as well, and they merely take out some language that was in the bill that was deemed unnecessary to really carry out the provisions or the intent of the bill.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the second set of amendments to Bill 4-20?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the second set of amendments to Bill 4-20.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
The second set of amendments have passed. Are there any other questions or comments from the members on this bill?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd just like to again acknowledge Councilman Jones for his leadership on this issue. Spent a lot of time and also worked with the administration back and forth, so I just want to acknowledge that and job well done.
I agree. Thank you. I think that any way that we can help assist our law enforcement in catching criminals committing crimes, we're a better county for doing so. Anyone else?
Yes,
Councilman Patoka?
thank you, Madam Chair. I would agree with you. I believe that crime doesn't go down randomly, nor does it go down or up because of weather. It needs to be driven down. And this initiative will help to drive down crime in Baltimore County and allow our law enforcement partners to be most efficient in their time in driving down crime.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilman Jones?
You know, Matt, let me also just say that one of the benefits of this bill, not only will it drive down crime, but if you think about a scenario that it pains me to think of it, but can you imagine if someone had their kid playing outside and then they get said, hey, my kid is missing, and you don't have a clue other than the kid is missing? When every minute counts and every second counts, it would be very beneficial for a police officer pulling up to be able to automatically know what cameras are down the street, what cameras are up the street, and what cameras are around the corner without having to physically go there and knock on the door and see if somebody's home and see if they have a camera. So this bill could certainly save a life someday. I really believe it.
Anyone else? Mr. Secretary, Bill 5-20.
We need a motion
Oh,
and
I'm
a
sorry.
second on 420 as amended.
I'm still on vacation.
That's okay.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 4-20 as amended.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
4-20 as amendment is passed. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Bill 5-20, current expense budget, active threat, active assailant grant.
I believe we have Jay Ringgold here to testify. Yes, want to come forward? Good evening.
Good evening. Bill 5-20, it's active assailant grant. It was actually given to us from MIMS through the Federal Department of Homeland Security and State Department. This bill is designed to assist first responders in an active assailant event. In the event of active assailant assault, the fire department and the police department have teamed up over the last couple of years and done training to include rescue task force. These rescue task force are police and firefighters, EMT and paramedics that team up during an active assailant event. They are designed to enter the cold and warm zone of an active assailant thing and quickly get to patients that are could be potentially bleeding out and provide life-saving equipment. This bill will provide tourniquets, to stop the bleed, bandages, and other necessary equipment for that purpose to take place. And this bill right now, like I said, is being funded through a grant, but if this grant goes away, the fire department will absorb this bill and continue to provide for the citizens of Baltimore County.
Thank you for that testimony. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Alrighty, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 5-20.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Jones? Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Bill 5-20 is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Next is Bill 6-20, sponsored by Councilman Quirk, and also at the request of the administration, additions to the Baltimore County landmarks list.
And I believe we have Mr. Gutwald here to testify. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the council. Bill 6-20 proposes to amend the final landmarks list by adding the former Catonsville Elementary School and its settings at 615 Frederick Road in Catonsville, and the Halethorpe Colored School and setting at 1900 Northeast Avenue in Halethorpe.
Yes, Councilman Quirk.
I'll just be very brief. I just once again want to thank the administration, thank the planning department, thanks to all the wonderful advocates and volunteers for both the former Catonsville Elementary School and also the Halethorpe Colored School. I don't know of any opposition in my district. It's widely supported by everybody, and I think both are a great addition to this list. So thank you very much.
It's wonderful to see so many people come in and testify and give that history as
Oh,
well.
it's great on both sites, and both really great for the historic landmarks list. And I know Rob Brennan, also who chairs that group, does just a fantastic job. A lot of really dedicated people to making sure that we do preserve what we can, and a lot of good history here. So, job well done.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from any members? Okay, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 6-20.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Marks? Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Bill 6-20 is passed. Congratulations. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Next is Bill 7-20, sponsored by Chairwoman Bevins, zoning regulations, manufacturing light zone use regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. So Bill 7-20 amends the Baltimore County zoning regulations related to certain industrial use permitted by right in a manufacturing light, which is ML zone. Listed as use by right under the industrial uses is metal products manufactured or processing limited to the restricted production of articles made of sheet metal, light metal, mesh, pipe, wire rods, strips, and other shapes or similar component parts. The reason I move forward with this bill is we have a business in my district, and they do high security defense manufacturing. They've been there for almost 2 years, and it was after about a year and a half, a little later, that they realized that some of the things that they were doing were not included in the code that we already have existing. And we all know that from time to time, we've had to add, because the code is so old, we've had to add things to that code. So they were painting metals that they actually didn't have a compartment to do so, and now they're doing that. And the metals that they're putting together now fall under this category. This was a very important piece of this is a very important bill. Congressman Rupesberger reached out to me for the Department of the Defense, and the administration supports this bill as well, so that I hope you will also support it. Are there any questions? No? Okay. Mr. Secretary? Oh, wait a minute. There's no... Okay, here we go. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 7-20.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka? Aye. Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Okay, Bill 7-20 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Bill 8-20, sponsored by Councilman Marks, zoning regulations, uses permitted in the residence apartment elevator 2 zone.
Councilman Marks?
Thank you. As I explained at the work session, this pertains to an area of historic East Towson where we are trying to mitigate the effects of an affordable housing project. The residents near the project have asked that the green buffer be preserved next to where they live. This legislation simply gives the developer the flexibility to move that structure away from the established neighborhood, closer to the road, and help preserve the green buffer.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Councilman Marks? Is there a motion to, do you have an amendment?
I do, Madam
I
Chair.
thought so.
There's one
There's one amendment?
There is one amendment sponsored by Councilman Marks. The bill indicates that multifamily buildings that are located in the RAE2 zone and are within 500 feet of the downtown Towson district and are within the boundaries of the Northeast Towson Improvement Association are subject to the bulk regulations that are set forth in the bill. The amendment would substitute the substitute a town center approved by the planning board instead of the Northeast Towson Improvement Association. So it's a bit of a technical amendment, but it substitutes town center rather than Northeast Improvement Association.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the amendment to Bill 8-20?
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendment to Bill 8-20.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
The amendment passes. Is there a motion to approve Bill 8-20 as amended?
So moved.
Second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 8-20 as amended.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Bill 8-20 as amended is passed. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Next is Bill 9-20, sponsored by Councilman Marks, zoning regulations, tattoo or body piercing establishments.
And there's also an amendment to this bill?
There is, Madam Chair. The bill as drafted increased the distance between tattoo establishments that are permitted in the bill that was enacted about 3 years ago. It increases that distance from 90 to 150 feet. The amendment actually increases that distance to 300 feet, and it also substitutes Chesapeake Avenue with Pennsylvania Avenue as the sort of the southern border of where these establishments would be permitted. Still along York Road and still with all of the other limitations that the original bill had.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the amendment?
So moved.
Second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendment to Bill 9-20.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
The amendment passes. Are there any questions or comments from members?
About the bill?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve Bill 9-20 as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 9-20 as amended.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Bill 9-20 as amended is passed. Councilman Marks, you have comments?
Well, thank you. I was very upfront about this legislation at the work session. Last spring, we allowed tattoo establishments to come into downtown Towson under some very strict regulations. One has already opened. Around that same time, a second establishment opened, met all the requirements, except that it was outside the zone that was created. The owner testified, Roy Finkelstein. He has owned property in downtown Towson for 90 years. There have been no complaints about the second establishment. He has been in contact with the Towson Communities Alliance, I just think it's appropriate to grandfather him under this legislation since there's been no complaints, since he does meet all the other requirements other than the distance requirements. The community's been very clear they do not want to see an oversaturation of Towson with these establishments, and that's why we have that broader distance requirement.
Thank you. The council will now consider all fiscal matters. Extensive testimony was taken at the council's work
Oh, yeah.
session.
Okay, never mind.
What now, Wade?
Nothing, I'm fine.
Extensive testimony was taken at the council's work session on February 25th, 2020. The witnesses who testified at the work session are available to restate their testimony if needed. If a council member has any questions regarding a particular fiscal matter, that item will be discussed as a separate matter. I will now call upon the secretary to read a cover letter for fiscal, there's 10, but we are taking out 1 and 8 to be
Right.
voted on separately. So we'll be
Yes, ma'am.
voting on 2.
2 through 7 and 9 and 10 at the
Okay.
collectively.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's right, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fiscal Matter 2 is a contract with Well Sky Corporation Case Management Software. Fiscal Matter 3 is a contract with Riverview Pharmacy and Surgicals LLC. Fiscal Matter 4 is a contract with Associated Catholic Charities. Fiscal Matter 5 is an intergovernmental contract with Maryland Environmental Service. Fiscal Matter 6 is a contract with E-Revival LLC. Fiscal Matter 7 is a contract with Otis Elevator Company. Fiscal Matter 9 is a contract with Watkins Security Agency. And Fiscal Matter 10 is a contract with, is two contracts for Armed Security Guard Services.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the members on the contracts just stated by the secretary? Okay, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on 2 through 7.
I think we may need a motion.
Oh,
And
did I miss
second
that? Oh,
on
is there a
those.
motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Marks? Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka? Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Those fiscal matters are approved.
And
You know
that-
which ones they are.
Yes, ma'am. And then
Okay.
that leaves Fiscal Matter 1, which is a contract with Harris, Jones, and Malone for labor relations services.
Right, and I was asked to separate these by some of the members because only 4 members were present for the council work session. So there wanted to be a discussion this evening, just for transparency. So we can start with
With 1,
1.
and then 8 is the contract with High Concrete Group LLC for parking garage maintenance.
Correct. Who has any questions or comments regarding the first contract? Oh, now there's no questions?
I had my questions answered the other day.
Okay, very good then, okay. Mr., do you want to do it separately?
I think, Madam Chair, I have just a question on fiscal
Sure,
matter 1. Just
right.
Harris, Jones, and Malone, really trying to understand a little more. I mean, and I know we've talked about this at work session. I know originally this was supposed to be a temporary issue, really for the first year.
Mhm.
And now I see it's not only temporary, but there are also several chances to renew this. You know, so I know we talked about a work session, but I still kind of wonder at what point will we have the staff in place where we don't have to keep going out and bringing in a lot of additional costs, since I think we have a very qualified county executive staff. We've got a lot of really good professionals, and so that one, that one I still have a little bit of concern for, because I know labor negotiations are complicated, but I think Councilman Jones said it really well when a lot of the institutional knowledge and a lot of the information we tend to have, hopefully, on staff as well. So that was my biggest, concern, is how much do we really continue to outsource and cost more and more money from the taxpayers versus can we do this more in-house and save money, since we have a very staffed up, I think, executive office now with very talented people. That was my question.
Okay, all right, I understand your point. Anyone else?
Yeah, to Councilman Quirk's, he made reference to some of the comments I had made earlier. And basically what I was saying was, it's been my experience in labor negotiations. A lot of times what really matter is the people that are there inside the departments. They have the expertise. They know what a recommendation would do in terms of the department. People coming from the outside don't know these things because they're not in the department. So, for example, if somebody were to say, let's say you had police or fire negotiations, and a union were to say, we would like to have a 45-minute break for lunch. Well, someone has to be there to say, well, we can't do that because this is, it's obvious to most of us here, but this is the type of thing where the expertise really lies in the department and not so much with outside people. It's been my experience, the people with the outsiders, they can't make a decision without checking with the insider. So they can't, they're not empowered to go out and give away the farm to Baltimore County. They can't just give away whatever somebody asks for. So basically you have, a mouthpiece, somebody sitting there talking for the administration, talking for the experts, but for the most part, that's as far as they can go.
Okay. Would Ms. Rhoda Benjamin like to come up and take a seat at the table? Thank you.
And Madam Chair, I can give some background as well.
Pardon me?
And I can give some background
Yep.
with Ms. Benjamin as well.
Appreciate it. Good evening.
Good evening. So thank you for your concerns. I think the main reason why we outsourced to Harris, Jones and Malone is because last year they did the union negotiations. So this year we want something of a continuum basis because we were all not there. So Sean is able to negotiate on behalf of the county. I understand the concern that we're renewing it for 3 years. At this point, we all know that previous to the county executive getting here, there was no transparency in negotiations with the unions. It was, okay, this is what you get. So now the union has a voice, and they're demanding a lot of things. So Sean is able to sit down with them and come to a reasonable agreement. So I think this contract is actually saving the county a lot of money.
I guess the question I heard earlier, at some point, do you think that we can rely on our own county attorneys to do this at some point?
Yes, that's the hope.
Within house?
Yes.
And within Ms. Benjamin's shop, we're trying to build the infrastructure. It is my understanding when the contract was presented last year, there was the attempt to build the capacity within HR where these kinds of functions are typically housed. However, our efforts this year did not produce the outcome that we thought that they would. In addition to needing to do the labor negotiations, we also have grievances, et cetera. And I will say that a lot of the negotiations are not just based on what's happening internally. It's about benchmarking and looking at what's happening with other jurisdictions as the various unions present their requests. And so that information being made readily available to us, the real-time research to say what's happening elsewhere has given us the support that we need to effectively negotiate with the unions.
Okay, thank
And
you.
that is the reason why we're requesting additional time. It is the desire of the administration to eventually be able to have the capacity to do all of these pieces internally.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Toka?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say that with contracting with Harris, Jones, and Malone, we get the benefit of having, one of their principals was a labor commissioner for one of the largest jurisdictions in the state, and I think we get the benefit of that experience of being a labor commissioner in our contract negotiations and labor agreements, and so I'm supportive of this contract.
Councilman Marks?
Thank you. I have mixed feelings about this. I do think that under this administration, the state of labor relations has greatly improved. Some of us who've been on the council since 2010 can remember a very autocratic approach. At one point in 2012, we were actually asked to vote on a bill to circumvent negotiations. Remember that pension vote?
Yep.
And the decisions were made by two people, often poor decisions. Decisions that, we never settled on cases. We ended up spending too much money in the long run. So I do think the state of labor relations has distinctly improved under this administration. On the other hand, I do share some of Councilman Quirk's concerns, and candidly, I would prefer that this be a yearly renewal by the council, not just automatic renewals.
Anyone else? Councilman Quirk?
That's what I was going to suggest, but I wanted to see, what if we just make this for the next year and revisit it a year from now, instead of putting all the automatic renewals on it? And that way we give another year, you guys get what you need done, and then, at least we have a clock. And then if you need Malone's group again, who I think is very qualified, by the way, and I think he probably does save us money. So I do think there's a legitimate reason to have Sean Malone. I genuinely believe that. But I also think there's a will to, as much as we can, save taxpayer money by doing more and more of this in-house. I think that makes sense when we just had to raise taxes. We had to really go through really tough vote to raise taxes not long ago. And so we got to just kind of watch, what spending's going up as well, to make sure that all of a sudden we're not in a tougher position in the future. I mean, so just trying to watch everything, I think, is what we're saying, I think, collectively.
Yeah,
So-
I think that's the intent, though, to renew it year by year on as needed basis. So not just
But
a
what if we
That's
just-
not being
full
asked for.
3 years.
That's not what's being asked, I guess.
But I mean, we could throw an amendment up from the floor and just say, can we do that, Tom Bostwick, or no?
Well, the contract, you cannot amend the terms of the contract
Contract.
from the floor. That would be something that the administration would have to negotiate with the contractor.
Yep, you have to go back.
Right. So if we say approve this tonight, we would make our best efforts to maybe within a year try to have somebody on our staff currently, hopefully, that could help take this over, or is that, or would,
Our plan is to have an individual carry these functions that have the negotiation capacity, because this is in HR. This is not in the Office of Law. This negotiation piece is in HR. And currently, we do not have an individual with the skill sets to do this. But in terms of configuring Ms. Benjamin's staff, it is our intent. We thought we had the capacity to do it with existing staff, but we do not. It's a unique situation, but it is our intent to staff up to the degree that we have the internal capacity to do it.
Mr. Quirk, one thing you could do is the renewal automatically takes place at the end of this year, December of 2020. One thing we could certainly do is at some point before then ask what progress they are making in cultivating an in-house operation.
I think that's fair.
Just something to think about.
yeah, just not a formal, but just an informal check-in. I mean, I'm honestly, I'm fine giving the benefit of the doubt. I know Ms. Benjamin, I know the team. I trust what they're saying. I actually do believe that ultimately Sean Malone, and I know him, he's a good guy, does no labor. I think he probably is adding value here for sure. So, I mean, I could be okay.
Okay, all right. So are we voting on one separately?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all righty. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Or second? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on fiscal matter 1.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Katch?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall? Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Jones? Aye. Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Benjamin. Fiscal matter 1 is approved. Now we're going to go down to contract number 8.
Yes, ma'am. Fiscal Matter 8 is a contract with High Concrete Group LLC for parking garage maintenance inspection services.
Okay. Hi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to talk a little bit about the questions from the auditor?
Sure. I'm hoping to clear this out. So the auditor's question was asking, what does the Revenue Authority do versus how we are approaching our garage care? So I'd like to emphasize a couple things. In the past, the county general-owned garages, we honestly didn't do any maintenance. They were never washed down to the best of my knowledge. And so one of the things we talked about with our consultant was the need to create a basic maintenance program and the ability to do testing, a third-party testing, if we feel that we have some issues. The Revenue Authority has a very formal preventive maintenance program. They actually have a machine where they monthly go in and scrub their 4 garage down, and then they spray them, and then they get a third party to test them if necessary. So when we first heard about what a Revenue Authority did, they obviously have their manpower to do it, and they have the equipment. One of the questions that we went back to is, what value do we gain if we employ additional people, because we don't have them currently, and take on the equipment? And what is the value of that preventive maintenance based on the longevity and life of the actual structure? So not knowing the history, I'm going to assume that for 30 years or how long those structures have been, they hadn't been maintained with even basic PM. And so one of the things we'd like to do, and this is why we introduced it, is that I would like to use this contract as a fall or spring wash down. It provides more frequently if we think we need to. And it gives us the ability to access a third party to make any repairs and or testing. Over this time of this contract, it gives us also the opportunity to see if there's any real benefit to washing them down every month and the cost of manpower and equipment to do that versus washing it down once a year, and what's the cost of repair. Because in the maintenance business, it's always, you don't want to spend more money in preventive maintenance than what you're really going to in repair. And since we don't have that history, and that was not information that the Revenue Authority could give us, this was a tool for us to be able to get our new garages going and getting a maintenance program in place at the same time over the next 2 years to kind of evaluate if we need to do it more frequently, how much is it going to cost versus having a contract. And that's really why we decided to go with a contract, because currently we just didn't have the staffing, nor do we have the equipment currently to do it.
So, Ms. Schendel, when you talk about maintenance, are you talking about power washing? And you do this happens at night when there's no cars in the garage?
Correct.
Okay.
And so it's all overtime, and they, evidently the Revenue Authority does it either early morning before people get there, or late at night. But yes, we would power wash late at night when they're shut down.
Does the maintenance also include things like restriping or fixing cracks? I'm just trying to get a feel for what the maintenance includes.
It does not include restriping, but it does include any of the crack repairs that are needed. And what they will do is also, it's called borings. They'll go in and test the concrete to make sure that it is still stable and whether any major repairs need to be done prior to what we call spalling, where it's falling on somebody's head. We want to make sure that that does not happen and that we're well planning in advance for those types of repairs.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
I just wanted to point out that the dollar amount on the contract is not a guaranteed dollar amount. It is, we will pay them as we go as far as inspections and sealing and coating. I also want to bring to your attention that we are about to perform a major renovation on the parking garage at the detention center.
Where?
The detention center, which I think we opened in 2005. But
Can
it's
you make
going to
it
be.
not do this?
Make
it not do this?
I can't make it not do. But it's going to be a major project. We are going to be coming to you with resolution for buses. We're going to, just like the public safety building garage, we are going to have to transport staff while the work is being done. It's going to take place over 2 months. So It is pretty significant, and the more prepared we are in preventive maintenance, the longer term between these types of major renovations to our garages.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Blades. Are there any questions? Yes, Councilor Marks.
Mr. Blades, on that issue, since my district will probably be most affected by that, can you, when you're ready, talk to me about the busing system? Because I remember when we did the public safety building, that was a very big issue.
Absolutely.
Where-
We are planning
where
on
the
using
remote
Towson
locations
Square again, and it'll be a loop from the jail up to Towson Square and back down.
Okay.
But yes, we'll absolutely, we'll let together for you.
Okay.
We're working on the schedule now.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments from the members on contract 8? Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on fiscal matter number 8.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam
Number
Chair.
8, yes.
I just
Thank
want
you,
to
Ms.
make,
Schindler. Thank you.
I just want to make a comment that I've had a lot of involvement in the issue of replacing Delaney High School, Towson High School, and I just want to compliment this administration for their efforts to take a look at the real property that we have in Baltimore County and make efforts to keep these buildings, these garages, et cetera, in good shape. Because if you don't take care of these buildings, these garages, they will need to be replaced sooner than later. So I look at this as a preventative cost that will save taxpayers a lot of money in the future. And I know it just seems that I just found it astounding to hear that the county has not been in this position where they have maintained the garages properly. I think of the Cromwell garage that it was Old Stewart's York Road.
Okay, yeah.
Well, and I don't know if it went to Caldor or not, but I find that hard to believe that.
Where Drumcastle is.
Yeah, Drumcastle. I mean, we bought that building and the garage. The garage was probably built in the 50s. And I wonder if, the reason we had to replace it is because we didn't take care of it once we bought it. And so I think there's a lot of other examples in the county where if we had maintained something, we wouldn't have to be replacing it. So.
Sure. Yes.
And to piggyback on Councilman Catch, property management is the agency that has done a 180 under this administration. I mean, outstanding customer service, always getting back to you. And Deb, I just want to thank you for all your help with that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. We voted on that, right? Yeah. Okay. We will now consider on miscellaneous business. Mr. Secretary, first item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Whenever a contract over $25,000 is awarded by a process other than formal competitive bid, it is required that a copy of the contract be given to the County Council and the nature and parties to the contract announced by the Secretary at the next legislative session. There are 2 such contracts this evening, one with Kiagen North American Holdings Incorporated for $25,000 and one contract with CVPTF LLC in the amount of $31,827.38.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next is the council's consideration of the county executive's nomination of Ms. Rosalind Johnson to be the next director of the Department of Recreation and Parks.
Thank you. Good evening, Ms. Johnson.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of council. Rosalind Johnson, for the record. Very happy to be here today as a nominee for the Director of Recreation and Parks here in the county. Happy for the opportunity to be able to come back home to the county where I grew up. And happy for the opportunity to be the first female director since the department's inception in 1948, here on the second day of Women's History Month. And also very elated to have my village here with me, the people who helped me get me where I am today.
That's a big village you got there.
And this is just a small number of them, so
Are they from Prince George's County?
They're from all over, Baltimore County, Baltimore City, Prince George's County, Howard County, Anne Arundel
Wow.
County. Yes.
Welcome,
That's a
everybody.
big
All in Maryland.
Community. It's a
Yes.
big community.
Any second district residents? Oh, done.
Would you like to talk to us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Started, of course, in Baltimore County, went to Hernwood Elementary, Deer Park Middle, Randallstown High School, was educated at the University of Maryland College Park, have been a senior executive in Parks and Recreation for approximately the last 16 years in Baltimore City, Washington, D.C., Richmond, Virginia, and most recently in Prince George's County. Have participated in the Harvard Senior Executives for State and Local Government program, was on the board for National Recreation and Parks for 6 years, taught at NRPA's National Recreation and Parks Association Director School for 6 years, teaching current directors and future directors best and next practices from all over the country, have helped to create the 3 pillars for the National Recreation and Parks Association, which are health and wellness, conservation, and social equity, which drives parks and recreation departments or recreation and parks departments around the country for the things that are next and best practices as far as that's concerned. Have gained a wealth of knowledge in working with communities in every community that I've served, and really strive as far as conservation, and my personal interest is on innovation, bringing innovative practices and programs to the communities that we serve. I'm a firm believer that recreation and parks is in the business of saving lives, whether it's creating safe places in the communities that we serve or redirecting negative behaviors into positive ones for the youth and actually adults that we serve. I like to say we take care of people from the womb to the tomb, literally. So
I like that. Well, I would like to say I was disappointed that I couldn't meet with you last week because I was out of town, but some of the other members said it was a very interesting interview process, and you were very impressive. I have seen your very impressive resume, and just for the audience to know, we did have a meeting tonight with the Rec Council president, the presidents of the Rec Councils, and you were sitting at the table, and I would have thought you had been here 5 years. The way that you spoke to everyone, you knew exactly what you were talking about, so that was so impressive in itself. And I know all about, being the only girl sometimes, so. She's not the only girl. No, I know, right. So are there any comments or members for Ms. Johnson? Yes, Councilman Jones, since you're Randallstown, we'll let
Yes.
you go first.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, I want to welcome you. I'm certain you will be confirmed here tonight. It's always good to see a local young lady do well. Having attended Randallstown High and Hernwood Elementary, growing up in the Kings Park area, we certainly welcome you and we look forward to working with you. And believe me when I tell you, there's no shortage of ideas here, so I can't wait to hear some of your ideas, and I can't wait to look at some of the ideas that will come from the members up here on the dais, because we really, really, really know the importance of recreation to our kids. We know the importance of recreation to the community. I always say an idle mind is the devil's workshop, so as long as we keep those kids active and on the right path, they're going to do well. So we certainly appreciate you being here, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilman Marks?
Thank you very much. Congratulations on your appointment. You're very well qualified. I'd like to thank the administration for the help it's given me on some of the smaller issues in my district, including the Silver Spring Road acquisition. I think all of us share a commitment to more land acquisition, not just passive space, but not just active space, but passive recreational space as well. Continuing the robust relationship with our recreation councils, implementing the background checks that I know Councilwoman Bevins fought for very hard. But also, I mentioned this in the work session, lunch, trying to see where there's opportunities to partner with the private sector to use our parks. I went to Montgomery County, I guess 3 years ago, did a zip line course in one of their public parks, and thought to myself, why can't we do this in Baltimore County? Zip lines are very popular now, and they're run privately, and there has to be a way we can have a leasing arrangement in suitable parks in Baltimore County. But thank you very much for your consideration of those ideas, and I know you'll do an outstanding job in this position.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman Diorio, Campbell.
Right. Ms. Johnson, we have not had a chance to sit down and talk yet, but I will. I've heard nothing but good things, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome. Rec and Parks is near and dear to me because I grew up in rec programs playing baseball and wrestling, and I was corrected by my appointee to the board of Rec and Parks at one point when we were talking about the land acquisition at Trade Point Atlantic that the administration is working on for a new waterfront park. And my board member corrected me in saying that you're thinking all about the kids. Adults use these facilities too, and when I find myself in a park walking the dog or whatever, I think that your sentiment that that Rec and Parks has an impact on our community's lives from the very beginning to the end. So I appreciate your thoughts there. I do want to let you know publicly that there's a lot of opportunity in the 7th District. We have a couple of trail projects going. We have a new park project going. In fact, we have 2 new park projects going that are in their infancy. The administration is working hard on those. I've been working on them and advocating for them. So there's a real opportunity for new field space and to sort of renew one of the older, more developed districts in Baltimore County. So just looking forward to working with you, and hopefully we can make some of these things happen sooner rather than later, get them into the budget. So welcome aboard. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilman Batoga?
Thank you.
I will say, once we get this rec center and green space going in the 2nd District, there's going to be a lot of 2nd District folks here.
That's all.
Beautiful 2nd District.
Councilman Quirk?
Yeah, I'll be just very brief. Did want to wish you the best of luck, and we all are rooting for you, Ms. Johnson. And you know, being in Catonsville and Arbutus area, you know, and close to Ellicott City, you know, we're always hear about Howard County Rec and Parks. Like literally almost a day doesn't go by, and I mean this, a day doesn't go by where it's like, hey, how can we be more like Howard County Rec and Parks? Now I know they have a different budget, and you know, I know they have, you know, a decent program. And I think hopefully over time it gives us something I think we can strive toward, because like I will say for certain that, I mean, they're really good. Howard County Rec and Parks is exceptionally good. And so that really gives us a nice kind of, you know, goalpost to really shoot for, not only eventually become known like that, but eventually be very competitive. And we're making, I think, progress, and I think this is going to help a lot. And Mike Milani, great guy, my Rec and Parks guy. I'll tell you, we were just meeting with Rec Council before this, and the amount of work and time and effort the council puts in, you know, we really need to try to support them wherever we can and help that just wonderful group of people and all the volunteers that really pull together. It's truly exceptional. I mean, truly amazing amount of volunteer time to pull off all these programs and make this work. And so I just wanted to congratulate you, and we look forward to working together, and let's catch up to Howard County eventually with their rec and parks. So that's where I'm at.
And thank you for mentioning the volunteers, and if we could just take a few seconds, we have two wonderful volunteers sitting in the back of the room, Corey Johns and Chuck Munzer, and they give of their time and talents week after week to preserve our rec council. So thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for staying for the appointment this evening. So it would be my honor to make a motion to approve your appointment.
I'll second it.
Second it. We're all going to second
We're all gonna second it.
Fifth.
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Ms. Johnson's appointment.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Marks? Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson, your appointment has been confirmed.
Thank you.
That must be the Baltimore County pin.
Must be.
Must be. Everybody gets one. Okay, good.
We have a second district pin, too.
I just want to say the 6th district is beautiful too, Councilman Patoka. And we have water. Okay, can we move on to Resolution 29-20?
Yes, Madam Chair. Resolution 29-20 is a resolution sponsored by Councilman Jones to authorize the property tax refund to Michael Hendricks, Jr., who, as a disabled veteran, is entitled to a refund under state law.
It's my honor and privilege to move the resolution.
Now, second it. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 29-20.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Resolution 29-20 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is Resolution 30-20. This is a resolution sponsored by Councilman Crandall to authorize the property tax refund to Mr. Joseph Poremski, who, as a disabled veteran, is entitled to a refund under state law.
My honor to move it.
Second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 30-20.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks? Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Resolution 30-20 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item.
Next is the council's consideration of the appointment or the nomination of Ms. Dolores Ryland to be on the Baltimore County Adult Public Guardianship Review Board.
Is Ms. Dolores Ryland here this evening? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the appointment?
So moved.
I'll second it. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the appointment.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Marks? Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
The appointment is confirmed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is Resolution 31-20. This is a resolution sponsored by Councilman Marks to support the Main Street, Maryland designation of Towson. This is for introduction only this evening, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, is there any further business to come before the council?
There is no further business, Madam Chair.
Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned. As is customary, anyone who has signed up prior to the meeting with the secretary is allowed 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Secretary, are there any speakers signed up this evening?
We have 2 speakers this evening, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Our first speaker is Laura Hularas. Am I close? Oh, not even close. Welcome. Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
I'm sorry. Good evening. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I'm here to talk about the Baltimore County Public Schools Pleasant Plains Boundary Study. Jesse Yeager, my partner in addressing this issue, is also here. We have maintained our composure up to this point, but our low simmer is quickly turning into a boil. Although we have presented our myriad ideas to the BCPS Board of Education, it seems as if our suggestions are falling on deaf ears. We feel that many of the explanations given are in fact excuses not to dig deeper and do the hard work that is needed to pause the process, look at the facts, and start over again to truly fix Pleasant Plains overcrowding. The board members have pointed out that BCPS is not a taxable entity and that the county not only approves new construction, but along with the state provides and controls the money coming into BCPS. So that is why I am here before you. I implore you to collaborate with BCPS and the board to find a more equitable solution for the schools involved. From the beginning, there were only 2 schools chosen to provide capacity relief, Halstead Academy and Hampton Elementary. Halstead was already at 98% capacity at the start of this school year and ended up being excluded from the committee's final recommendation known as Option B. If passed, Option B will send 100 of Pleasant Plains students to Hampton this coming September. While it's true that Hampton is currently under capacity, it will not be able to support these additional 100 students long-term because of the over 600 units of housing development already built within its catchment. BCPS projects a total of 25 students will be produced from these units, a number that is laughable given that we have already seen their projection from the apartments at the corner of Delaney Valley and Fairmount balloon from 12 students to 67. All of these 67 students currently attend Hampton. Hampton teachers, administrators, and community as a whole are ready and willing to take on more students, but with everything coming down the pipeline, are rightfully terrified that the school could end up in the same situation as, or worse than, Pleasant Plains' current one, especially since Hampton's cafeteria and gym were never expanded during its recent renovation. We want to be part of the solution, not the only solution. We are asking to share the burden with other schools in the area and/or search for alternative options. Mr. Wade Catch has advocated for additional options, and for that we are deeply grateful. We value his time, voice, and resources devoted to this issue. As Mr. Catch has suggested, the most obvious solution to me sits smack dab in the middle of Pleasant Plains and Hampton. And not only that, it's a school with 59 seats available right now. The name of this school is Cromwell Valley. It seems that because of its magnet status, it has shielded from the study and for some reason is still being protected from entering the discussion of capacity relief assistance. However, that needs to change. It is not projected to be at capacity until 4 school years from now, a time frame that would surely buy us some time until a longer-term solution can be found. Thank you.
Councilman Bajoka?
Thank you, Ms. Couliaris, for sharing that information. Do you know the enrollment and capacity of Pleasant Plains?
It is in the, I'm sorry, 708 is the current enrollment.
And do you know how much over that is?
They're at 137%.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then there's development in the pipeline that will yield more children to Pleasant Plains?
To Hampton. Well, Pleasant Plains as well, but to Hampton, definitely. There's ones that are already built, 600 units are already built in the Hampton catchment, and there's going to be students, more than 25 are going to come next year.
Yeah. This is a very serious issue, and I'm pleased that you brought it before this council. It's something I think that we should look at prospectively. There was a piece on WYPR about the counties, what we allow. We allow development where a school may have maybe 15% overcapacity, where Howard County, for an elementary school, they limit development when it's 5% overcapacity.
Wow.
And so I think we need to really take a hard look at our adequate public facilities ordinance and maybe start to adjust so that we can provide a quality education like some other counties and have parents that feel comfortable sending their children to a Baltimore County public school.
We don't want them to switch to private school. We have the best public schools around.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we should be proud of them, but it can't continue like this.
Yeah. And thank you for coming in. We have similar issues in other districts as well.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I make a few comments. I've spoken to the school board twice about this issue. Excuse my voice, it's going. But this whole situation is really bad. We have a severely overcrowded Pleasant Plains Elementary. and we have a Hampton Elementary that is today under capacity, in other words, under the state-rated capacity. However, as it's been mentioned, there's going to be 616 units. Many of them are well on the way and are going to come, are going to be completed, and the county has estimated that these 616 units will produce 25 students. This is a total joke. We all know that they're going to produce a lot more. I've looked online and looked at other groups and how the projected school population, how they determined what it's going to be. And the ones that I looked at, these 616 units are going to produce a lot more students. And on top of it, the study that was done by the Cropper Group, this is a group that the Board of Education hired, it's not even up to date.
Right.
They don't have the population numbers that are at Stoneley Elementary, Cromwell, and Hampton and Pleasant Plains. All you got to do is pick up the phone and ask. And I asked every one of those schools what the current population is, and I only got one school refused to give me the answer, and that was Stoneley. I understand Stoneley's population is decreasing, whereas the other schools are increasing. I did I took Plan B, the one that is recommended, and when you put Plan B in, and a very conservative numbers in regard to how many students these 616 new units are going to produce, and we're going to end up with two schools that are overcrowded, 111% for both of them. So we're going to take one school that's critically overcrowded. We're now going to have two schools that are that are overcrowded. I mean, it's just beyond imagination. And with these new, with all the new projects, you're going to find that Hampton is going to get bigger and bigger. What I would, and I suggested a plan to the board, as you know, and we need to, the school system in this area needs to look at Old Parkville Elementary School, need to look at Old Lock Raven Elementary School to see if some of the grades or one of the grades from Pleasant Plains can be located in those buildings, or there are other churches in the area that possibly the county can rent space from them. Because I can tell you this Plan B is not going to solve the problem. It's going to make it bad for both schools.
And they're going to vote next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, the board. So we need action on this before then, just to talk to them again. If you all could do anything to help us reach out to them, anybody on the board.
Have you talked to our member?
Lily Rowe?
Yes. She
go ahead.
She stayed after, her and Kathleen Causey stayed after the public hearing last week and spoke with us, and we definitely appreciated that because we hadn't had a chance to speak to them prior to that. And I asked them if they're, is there any gray area, or is it black and white? If option B does not pass, is there something else we can do? And there was a little bit of skirting around the, not giving me a direct answer, but they did say they have the power to change it. Instead of just all or nothing, there is a power in there. It's just of whether they're going to do it before March 10th and what they will, what they're willing to do this year. Because if Pleasant Plains doesn't get any help, it's going to be a very sad situation next year. We're sad for them, but we don't feel like Hampton is the only option to fix it. And we strongly want to see Cromwell Valley be brought into the equation. We feel like that's only fair. They're right in the middle.
And as was
You're
said,
passing Cromwell to come to Hampton from
Cromwell
Pleasant Plains.
literally is in the middle of these two schools. the untouchable school. Well, Chris might play and I touched it a little bit. But, and then you have Stoneleigh, which is right next to it.
Right.
And right next to the area.
And Stoneleigh wasn't
Didn't
brought
even
into the
look at it.
equation either.
Didn't look at it.
Right.
And just because Cropper has this study doesn't mean that the conclusions are right, that even the numbers in the report are right, because I can tell you they are not.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for coming in. I actually represent Pleasant Plains Elementary School. I was at a PTA meeting not too long ago and spoke with the president right before I went away on vacation. I did send a letter to
Yes.
be read at the public hearing.
We heard that.
The PTA did ask me to support Plan B for now, and the Lock Raven Village Community Association did as well. Again, I don't know if that's the perfect plan, and it's very short term. We know we have so many schools we're waiting that are, David Marks and I had 2 schools that should have had a shovel in the ground this year, and now they've been postponed. And then I have Fullerton Elementary School that's 136% as well, not due to development, just a change of the neighborhood and new families moving in. So it's definitely an issue. That's why this 10-year plan is so important. But this is all long-term, and, the short-term, it's just not helpful for, long-term. So thank you for coming in. And the way it was explained to me, Plan B was what they wanted for now. Lily Rowe, if they have the authority to be able to send these students to any other school, I suggest that they have that conversation.
I think
for
if
sure. I don't know about that. Like you say, go back to Old Parkville School. That's a senior center. They have rec and parks programs in there. It's a very old school, so I just don't know. The parking lot is, I just don't know. I mean, there's a senior center there every day, so I'm not so sure that's the answer, how we can use our really old schools, but it's definitely something to think about. Right.
Just one grade. Solution has to be found, because this is, it's going to be.
It is such a great school. There's great leadership there, and the staff is extraordinary, and they're producing great students who are enthusiastic and doing well.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah.
I think despite their issues, and to see that, and to hear the things they said, that they didn't really want to see their community be broken up.
Right.
They're sad to see some of their friends go,
Yeah.
but they know it has to happen because they can't stay under these situations. And we don't disagree with that. It's just, we don't feel like it was equitable the way, what was decided, what has been presented, we don't feel like was equitable, and we feel like there should be some more burden taken on by other schools. And also, if this was going to be a temporary fix, that would be fine. But boundary changes, as you probably know, historically are not temporary.
Correct.
So we don't see it as a temporary fix. If they were calling it an annexation of children to Hampton, I would totally be on board with that, but they're not, and boundary changes don't get changed back. So that's going to be a permanent change, in my opinion.
Well, in regard to a temporary change, as they're calling this, the central area of Baltimore County, below the Beltway, there are enough students to build another elementary school.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the core of the problem. And I know you all have that in Perry Hall,
We do.
Parkville.
We do.
And it's catch up
Yeah.
all the time.
Jessie would like to speak to,
Sure.
or maybe she wants to speak off the cuff at this point, because but.
Can I just make a
Yes,
comment?
Councilman Marks.
So first of all, I agree we need to have a look at Cromwell Valley Elementary School.
Thank
I've said
you.
that for years.
Thank you.
Its unique status has kind of bewildered me.
Yeah.
And so I do think we have to look at
59
that.
seats.
Yeah, I think we have to look at that. I think there is enough blame to go around. I think the county government should have dealt with this adequate public facilities ordinance long ago. I told WJHU today that something that I'm interested in looking at fixing it. The home builders really have to be part of the solution as well. They're not going to sell homes without good schools, and they need to be part of the conversation. The school system, you're exactly right. There's a reluctance to adjust boundaries, ever. And other jurisdictions, they do this very automatically, and we don't do it at all, it seems. I am frustrated by the lack of communication from the school system. The superintendent met with us in October. I asked him for a short-term relief strategy for Towson High School and have not gotten anything. And here it is 5 months later. And that frustrates me as well. So I think you bring up excellent points, and I think this is something the council really needs to struggle needs to tackle with in a systemic way this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you
in.
so much.
And Jesse, do you want to come up and say a few words? You got 3 minutes.
Thank you all. I feel like reading this is kind of moot since you already were able to address in a conversation what I was going to follow up with. And I think that in and of itself is pretty awesome to me, because we speak to the Board of Education every other Tuesday, and it's stone faces and nothing. We don't get emails back. We don't get anything. At the end of the public hearing last Wednesday, Lily Rowe did say, I wish you guys would stay till the very end of the meeting and then we could talk. And it's like, yeah, I can only stay till about 10 p.m. Right. I do have kids. Sorry, I'm not going to wait around till 1 in the morning for these really long meetings. So anyway, thank you for that back and forth with Laura. That helped me. And you guys obviously already know, and Mr. Catch has been helping us on a regular basis, and I appreciate that. The projection from Kids Count is 542 students over enrolled just in the central area. As he just said, it's an entire elementary school. Now, you can't just build one elementary school either because it's in different areas, but you probably could if that's only the central area. And all this incoming development has come onto the pipeline. I mean, out of those 616 units, 37 of them are single-family homes. 12 of them are in walking distance to Hampton. And they were projected, those 12, 2 students. 6 students total out of 37 single-family homes for one of the better schools in the county. And those projections are just crazy to me. So the main reason Hampton Elementary is the only school to bear is because of Cromwell Valley and its protected status. We just don't have the luxury to give it a magnet status right now. We don't have the luxury in our area to have a magnet for elementary kids to learn technology when they're learning it in all the other schools anyway. And I heard on NPR that the CEO of the Maryland Building Industry Association said that the school board should actually do more boundary changes, and that building development is good because it gives us more money for all of our schools in construction. But I want to know where this money is that's sitting around waiting for our schools that all this construction is supposed to be bringing in, because there's a lot of beds for people who won't have a seat. And if they come in and realize they don't have a seat, then they're going to immediately leave. So we want people to come here, but you kind of have to do it together. If not, I mean, frankly, we need to stop, pause, and catch up, and then do it together, because you're putting the cart in front of the horse. And it's a dangerous rhetoric to believe that development is good for us. So I definitely thank you all, especially Mr. Catch and Mr. Marks. You guys have made yourselves readily available to us. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other business, this concludes this evening's legislative session. Everyone have a good ride home. Yeah, sure, you're welcome. Oh, yeah. Right. There's a lot of finger pointing. Right. Well, you need to know. Yeah. I've only had one redistricting. I had a new school built at Victory Villa, which did a whole redistricting, and I never thought having a brand new